welcome to coaches at Crown Brew Getting Coffee for another episode of speaking to coaches about their profession, getting to know a little more about them than maybe the little snippets you see on TV. And I've got another great coach to talk to today. I want to thank the Swinford Media Group for putting this all together again, and thanks to Crown Brew for allowing us to use this great facility. And let me introduce my guest today. It's Coach Shane Hawkins. Shane Hawkins is the head basketball coach at Carterville. And Shane, I'm going to do what I do every week. I'm going to run through a little bit of a resume, and I got to tell you, partner, I knew a lot of this stuff, you know, when you sent this to me, but I have never seen it put collectively together, and it is pretty impressive. So Pinckneyville, went to high school there, played basketball there, won a state title in 1994. Played for Rich Herron at SIU from 94 to 98, went to the NCAA tournament in 95. You can correct me if I've got anything wrong. Was a GA at SIU under Bruce Weber in 98, 99. You went to be an assistant coach at Barton County Community College. NCAA tournament bid, were 64-11 during those years, which is really impressive. Was an assistant at SWIC from 2001-2002 season. Back to SIU as a GA under Bruce Weber and Coach Painter. NCAA tournament berth in 2003 and 2004. Under Chris Lowry from 04 to 06, NCAA tournament bid in 2005. And then the high school transition begins in 2006. You spent 6 years at Trico as head coach, winning 3 regional championships, 4 years at Marion High School, winning a regional championship, and from 2016 to the present at Carterville, winning a regional championship there as well. It is a storied resume as player, as coach, as college coach, high school coach. Shane, welcome.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
When you called, and you know how it is, we look at the phone, we don't always accept every call.
Yeah.
But as I was sitting on the couch with my wife, I said, hey, Coach Martin's calling, I got to take it.
I appreciate that, yeah.
And anytime you get a chance to talk, I'm an old school coach, and it's when I get a chance to talk with older coaches, that's my niche. I'm talking to Coach Corn or Coach Herron, or I've got to spend a lot of time with Coach Cruz in the last couple of years since he's been retired. And that's me. I would much rather talk to the older guys just because of the stories and kind of what they've been through and their experiences.
So tell me about your experience growing up in Pinckneyville, because I talked to Gus Gillespie a few weeks ago. He grows up in an Eastern Illinois mecca of Lawrenceville, Illinois, with storied basketball there. But on the western side of our state sits Pinckneyville, just as storied, just as legendary. Tell me about playing at Pinckneyville, what that was like growing up in that environment.
It's different. I mean, it's like when I got to other high schools, when I got into Trico or to Marion or Carterville, and I guess you think that every school's like it was at Pinckneyville, and it's not. It's different. We'd have 15 to 20 people at every practice, sitting in the top row, and it was just spectators, retired guys who would come and watch practice every single day. You don't get that. You'd sell tickets for the regional, and they would do that during practice, and they were up in the upper concourse, and there's 1,000 people walking through for practice. But from the time that I was 4 or 5, and I would come home from kindergarten, and I would go across the street to the gym and go to practice. So I've been around the program. It wasn't just like I was there my 4 years in high school. I felt I was a part of that program from the time I was 5 years old. And then to have the opportunity to play for Coach Corn, I'd been in practice. I knew him, and to have a chance to be on a team that brought him his first state championship. I mean, those are the kind of things that growing up you dream of. Again, as a coach, you want happiness for your players. You want your players to succeed for them. Yes, I wanted to succeed in high school, but I really wanted him to be able to get to that next level. He'd been to the state tournament in '88 and got second. And I knew we had a chance to be pretty good. But to be able to be on a team that got him his first state championship was awesome.
I've heard this before, that the gym wasn't locked. Back in those days, at any time, day or night, a kid could go to Pinckneyville High School, go to the gym, and shoot baskets.
We would practice, and our practices would get over 5:30, 6 o'clock, and there would be people coming in the gym at that time at the end of our practice to get on the floor to play for an hour, 2 hours, 3. I mean, they would close it at 9 o'clock.
Old timers coming back.
Yes, they would have one end. They'd be older guys, and they would play cross court, and then all the other young kids were on the other end playing.
That's
and it was,
great.
I mean, it was wild. It was different. And, you know, when I was junior high-ish, I started getting in with those older guys, and I think playing with those older guys who, you know, had grown man strength and they weren't athletic, but they knew how to play. I think that helped me just as much as anything, because I'm now in 4th, 5th, 6th grade and I'm playing with grown men, and you kind of figure things out, or you don't.
Yeah, you're right.
So I think that helped my development. It helped me continue or maybe grow the love of the game, just being in that situation.
At what point did you know I'm pretty good at this? Because at what age? Because like for myself, I do not have a storied high school career, but I do not. But I really wasn't that good a football player until my senior year.
Right.
When did you start elevating yourself and people said this guy can play?
I think when, like, even younger, 3rd, 4th, 5th grade, when you went to camps and you had competitions and I would win more than my share. Yeah. Or I would go to Coach Aaron, when Coach Aaron was at Benton, he would have a summer camp at Wren Lake. So you'd go to Wren Lake's day camp, and you kind of had kids in the area. You'd have kids from Mount Vernon, Benton, McLeansboro, and I could compete with those guys. So I thought, okay, cool. This is kind of fun. Yeah, it's always more fun when you're having success at it. Yeah, but I think that even as I got into junior high, I thought, okay, this is what I like to do. This is what I'm going to dedicate my time to, because I think I can be pretty good. I don't know this answer. Did you play other sports, or was basketball the thing? Well, Coach Korn was our cross-country coach and track coach. I got you. So you can pretty much guarantee what we did in the fall. And he didn't make you, but if you weren't playing football, if you weren't playing football, you were running cross-country. It was understood. Now, a lot of our cross-country practices were geared toward explosion, and then we would go do our running. Yeah. So we had a bunch of basketball players running cross-country, but it was trying to get guys to compete. Yeah. And you don't have a teammate in cross country. You've got to make the next step to go get the person in front of you. And then I ran track and played baseball. Yeah. You know, my springs were really busy, but there was no AAU basketball. Right. I mean, when the basketball season was over, it was kind of on your own until summer. So I played baseball all my life. I love baseball. Baseball is probably my favorite sport. Were you a pitcher? I was very little. Oh. But I think when I got in high school, baseball is probably my favorite sport. Oh, wow. Because basketball became a job. Basketball became what I wanted to do. I saw myself as playing college basketball. I wanted to play whatever level I could play it. So baseball was the one where I wasn't going to spend a whole lot of time at it. I wasn't going to hit all winter. But I really enjoyed it because it was kind of a release or an outlet for me to take the pressure off of basketball. Yeah, I was going to say the expectations weren't there, so you didn't have to be at this certain level. You go from playing at Pinckneyville, you go from playing on Friday nights in the winter in front of 2,500 or 3,000 people, and you go to a Southern Illinois baseball game and there's 45 people there. Yeah, just the expectation. That's cool. But that's my love for baseball. But that has led to you wanting kids to play more than one sport. Absolutely. You know, because you know what it did for you. Absolutely. And I think that when you have kids play other sports, I want kids to compete. You know, I'm at a football school now, and we've had a lot of success in football, and we're trying to get basketball built up. And it's like last year, our guys made it to the 3rd round, which we missed our first week of practice with most of our guys. We got into that second week, and we missed the first total 9 days of practice. But I was fine with it because I knew I had guys competing. Yeah. And there's no substitution for trying to find getting guys to compete. Mm-hmm. And yes, it pushed us back a little bit at the beginning of the season, but I would trade that every year to have those guys have success in football or baseball because you have guys who can win. And I know that when we got in tough situations in basketball during the winter, I can rely on those guys knowing how to find a way to win a game. And that specialization that players get into, playing only one sport, you're missing a season or 2 seasons
of that competitive edge, that crunch time, that you got to have that poise and that moxie in these certain, stressful situations, and you can't replace that.
You can't. And I'm sure you had it with football. There were some guys that would say, hey, I'm not going to play basketball, or I'm not going to wrestle this winter because I want to work out for football.
Oh,
I mean, you had it.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, so for the next 9 months, you're not going to do anything competitive. You're not going to play a game. You're not going to put a uniform on and compete. You're just going to work out by yourself.
You're really going to put in, like they have this vision that they're just going to be, no, you need to go compete.
Well, and I've told kids this before. I said, so you're going to go work out every single day for 2 to 2.5 hours that you would get if you were in basketball or wrestling or whatever.
Yeah.
And it doesn't work.
No, it doesn't. And so you end up going to SIU, and you get to play for Rich. And again, Rich could be a separate podcast. Just bring guys in and talk about the Rich Heron experience.
Deluxe edition.
Yeah, I mean, he's a special guy, special coach, and we all have our Coach Heron stories, and they're amazing. So just share with me your SIU experience. You go there, the expectations for you. You're a local guy. Yeah. And being a local state champion, there probably was some added pressure on you as you came into SIU with the expectation, okay, now can this kid from Pinckneyville who won a state title compete with these other guys coming in?
Absolutely. And I think growing up, I always knew that I was going to be a Pinckneyville Panther. I knew what my goal was. My goal was to try to win. My 2 goals in high school were to try to win 100 games, win a state championship. I didn't know where I was going to play college. So you kind of, yes, I went to SIU games as a young kid, but you don't have that connection that I did in high school. But for me to go from winning a state championship as a 6'3", unathletic Southern Illinois kid, going to SIU was coming off of 6 straight postseason bids, had been in the NCAA tournament the 2 years previous. And for me to get the opportunity, we were really good.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember a lot of days walking back to my dorm in August and September and October thinking, what am I doing here? Yeah. These guys are way better than me. I mean, it was humbling.
Yeah.
And you had to figure things out. But to be able to have the opportunity to play in the NCAA tournament as a kid from Southern Illinois and get to play in the game, man, it's unbelievable.
Yeah. What do you take from your experience there? What is it? Because you're going to go into the coaching profession shortly after you get done playing. What's the big takeaway as an SIU player? What did that teach you that you could carry over to the coaching profession?
Well, I think that, I'd grown up and all through my youth, seeing Coach Corn and being around him and seeing how he did things. And obviously the amount of success that he had. To go to the college level and see the amount of success that Coach Heron had. I was lucky enough to play for 2 guys who won over 1,500 games.
Yeah, that's incredible.
I mean, it's stupid.
Yeah.
And they did things completely different. And Coach Corn played for Coach Heron at Benton. Wow. But to play for both of them, they were really different. They were different coaches. Yeah. So I think that was the one thing that it gave me the idea of seeing, hey, there's more than one way to do this.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
And even as an 18 or 19 or 20-year-old trying to figure out how I want to coach and not where I want to coach, but what level. And it broadened my knowledge on the game. Did you leave SIU thinking I'm going to be a college basketball coach? Was that was your goal when you got out? I think going into college, I knew I was going into education. I wanted to teach and coach. Okay. And I think as I got around the college game and I was in practice and thinking, man, this is way different. We're going to Wichita and there's 10,000 people screaming at you and there's an atmosphere. Or you go to Creighton and the auditorium was sold out. It's like, this is different. This is not going to your local Class A school in Southern Illinois on Tuesday night with 200 people there. Right. So I think that kind of fueled it, maybe my desire to stay at that level, at least see if I could stay at that level. And I was fortunate enough when I always joke that Coach Heron's last season was my last season, so we went out together. I helped get Coach Heron fired up. I've told him that several times. Yeah. So I've apologized to him. But when Coach Weber comes in and he brings in Coach Painter with him, and it's like, all right, this is completely different to the way we were doing it. So now I've got another background to kind of figure out and kind of deviate from what I like from this and what I like from that and what I like from these guys. So my philosophy continued to change, and my, just being around Coach Weber and Coach Painter, and kind of where they had been and their knowledge of the game is, I would just sit in there and listen.
Yeah.
I mean, I would go back late at night when Coach Painter was on making recruiting calls and sit and just listen and get a napkin out and take notes.
Yeah.
And it was like, okay, this is what I want to do.
So, that's really interesting because you've got Coach Heron, Coach Korn, Coach Painter, Coach Weber. I mean, man, Shane, this is like a who's who of great basketball coaches. And yet you're 20 some years old and you've been around all these great coaches. So you've got all this knowledge. And I'm sure it's a blessing, but also you're sifting through, how do I turn this into the coach I want to be? Because there's so much.
And it was every day. There was something every day. How to handle the good and the bad. And being at the college level, you deal with a little bit different element than you deal with walking down the hallways in high school. But being able to kind of see how they handled that type of stuff. And then I go to Barton County, and we're out there, and my first year we're the best team in the country. I mean, we're ranked number 1 for like 8 weeks. We get beat in the first or in the region championship. The next year we're not as good, and we go to the nationals and we're 7th. So again, I was fortunate enough to be around guys who we were winning. And then I had the opportunity to come back to Southern Illinois, and I went to SWIC with Jay Harrington. When I was there in 2002, Jay Harrington won his 500th game. Jay Harrington's still coaching. I mean, and I don't think he's 1,000 yet, but he's gonna be.
Yeah.
So I've been blessed to be around a bunch of guys who did things completely different than the other ones.
It's a great story.
But they've all won, and they've all won at a high level. I think Coach Weber's, when I looked it up, is like, man, I knew he was close. He's got 497 wins. I mean, he's probably 3 wins from getting an automatic. I don't think he's in the Hall of Fame, but he's 3 wins from probably getting into the Hall of Fame, and he may never get them.
Yeah.
And then you look what Coach Painter's done at Purdue.
Yeah.
So or Coach Lowry, and he was at SIU, and he's at K-State. Now he's at Northwestern, and they got to the NCAA tournament last year. So I've been very blessed to be around guys who kind of have the same idea of basketball.
That's a great story, to be around that many coaches that have really transformed the game and taking bits and pieces from them and then finding your way into high school coaching. And tell me about your decision to go to Trico and become the head basketball coach, and talk about different from the 10,000 people at Wichita State. And now I'm at Trico, and I've coached in small towns. I know what small towns are like, and it's wonderful, but it's different.
It's different.
Yeah.
And I think going there, me and we'd gotten married, and me and Kate got married, and being at the college level as a coach with a wife and trying to raise kids or starting a family, it's not ideal.
Yeah.
So I go to Trico, and we're there 6 years, and as you said, it's different, but I loved it.
Yeah.
I mean, I had rural kids who competed and played as hard as they possibly could all the time. And and we were really good. I mean, they were really good. They took me on a ride for 6 years. And, I got to the point where I wasn't sure what else we got to the sectional final twice, probably should have won one of them. I wasn't sure what else I could accomplish or what else we could get at the 1A level. And to be honest, my last year at Trico, I think I prepared, and so you'll understand this, I prepared for 8 games. We played 32 games, and I got excited about 8 of them. And it was like, all right, I'm not getting better as a coach.
Yeah.
You kind of get to the point, we were winning a lot of games, but I was not, as a coach, becoming better.
You were getting challenged.
And I wasn't sure how I could take that program to the next level if I wasn't getting better, because I prepared for 8 games the previous year. So when Marion came open, it was a challenge, but I was ready for something different.
Yeah.
And I think those 4 years at Marion had as much impact on me as being the coach I am today as maybe any other time period. Just because what we had was different than what everybody else had in the conference. Carbondale had 2 Division I players we played against. Mount Vernon was really, really good. Centralia is Centralia. Cahokia and Belleville-Altoff had pros and 4 Division I players, and they both went to the state tournament.
Yeah.
And so we had to figure out ways to sometimes it wasn't even figuring out a way to win. It was figuring out how to be competitive and not get beat by 40.
No, and you're right. When I look at that South 7, the history of South 7 basketball, I mean, it's just game after game after game, home or away, it doesn't matter. It's brutal. And then you go to Centralia's gym, or you go to Mount Vernon's gym, or you go on the road to Cahokia, and you got to play at Carbondale. I mean, it is week after week. It is a challenge.
And that's when the league was probably, that 4-year span was probably when the league was as good as
I agree.
as it ever was, just for the amount of individual players.
Yeah.
But I think that period, that made me, coming from where I wasn't really excited about a lot of games to now all of a sudden we're trying to devise things to stay close.
Yeah.
But I think that kind of brought my fire back as a coach, because it was different. It was nonstop. It was work. We got to figure out ways to be competitive.
I think people watching may not understand what I'm going to say next. You have a reputation, and I mean this as a compliment. You have a reputation of being a grinder. Yeah. And I think maybe I need to clarify that means that you've got your nose to the grindstone for this sport, for your coaching basketball, nearly 12 months out of the year. You're working at this, and I love that because I appreciate that because I think that's the process where you're never satisfied. You feel like I've got so much to learn, and I feel like I could learn something today, and I don't want to miss the opportunity. So you wear that, I hope, as a badge of honor.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, like last night, the college season starts on Monday the 6th, and last night I'm at home on a rare night that I have no guys in the gym, and I'm going home, and I'm flipping through ESPN Plus, and it's Florida Tech and Stetson playing an exhibition game, and I'm sitting out, and I have my notebook right beside me with remote control. And is there one thing that I can take out of this game?
Amen.
And I think that's when I lose that part. Then it's time for me to get out.
Yeah.
When I don't get excited about watching games, when I want to watch a game just to watch it and not learn from it, that's probably when it's time for me to get out. And I haven't got to that point. It may happen next week, but right now, it's kind of it's where I'm at. Yeah,
I love the passion because that's the thing. I mean, the great ones are never satisfied. They're always looking, and you just feel like there's a part of you is like, I need to watch this. And it's tough sometimes. The curse of it is sometimes it's hard to relax because you feel like there's something I can do today to make our program better. So you find something, you read an article, look it up, get your phone and look up something. Right. Yeah.
It may not be X and O's on the floor. It may be the fundraising, or it may be a summer tournament, or it may be uniform design, whatever. It's
something. Yeah.
But there's always something. But I think if you're going to do it, do it the right way.
Amen.
And you have a lot of, and I think that's why I kind of gravitate towards the older coaches. Yeah. Because that's the way it was. There were more grinders then than what there are now. Nobody wants to go coach a 7th grade team. Everybody wants to be a varsity coach.
Yeah, right.
They don't want to pay their dues and spend that time.
That's right.
That's, you see it. It's coming. It's getting worse too.
Yeah, Brett Dietering mentioned last week about it's important for young coaches to spend that time as an assistant, hopefully under someone they can learn. And you did that. And there is an impatience, I think, with some young coaches to want to move to a high level very quickly. And with the shortage of teachers and coaches that are out there, sometimes they do move too quickly into those positions.
You're going to get people who are not ready for the job that they get.
So this has always been something I've thought about. I've seen this in the professional level, the college level. When a player is played at a high level themselves, and then they go into coaching, sometimes there's a challenge for you as a coach to coach kids that may not be as motivated as you were, and you have trouble empathizing with that.
I struggled with that as a young coach. Yeah. Because I was a grinder, and I would wait, like after our high school practices, I would go home and eat and probably watch a game and do whatever homework I was going to do. Yeah. But I would wait till the 9 o'clock when the janitor shut the doors off, shut the lights off, and kicked everybody else. And then I would go back to the gym at 10 o'clock. Yeah. That was my routine. Yeah. So to find somebody who, soon as you break huddle practice, they're out and they don't think about it again until they put practice gear on the next day. That it took me a while to figure out. I didn't understand that.
Yeah.
And I think that it took me a while to understand not everybody's got the same idea and the same passion for it. And to me, that was the only way.
Yeah. And I'm the opposite of you in that I was not very talented, but I had to work really hard to be good. And when I see players not willing to do what I had to do, it frustrated me. I'm like,
Absolutely.
well, I had to do this or I had to do that, and I worked all summer and I gave up this. And sometimes you struggle with that lack of motivation, but you got to realize not everybody's going to have that. They're just not.
Absolutely. And we have guys, we'll have guys who are better baseball players. Baseball is their love.
Is there one? Yeah.
It's their one.
Yeah.
They're playing, they played football and they play basketball. But as soon as basketball's over, they're going to the cage.
Sure.
And I think that I've kind of grown to understand that.
Me too.
You know what?
Yeah.
Okay. So he's not shooting free throws or jumpers after practice, but he's going to his love.
Yeah.
He's working. He's staying competitive, is staying sharp. It's not basketball.
Yeah.
And it took a while for me to understand that.
Yeah. I think that's part of the experience and the wisdom of saying, well, this may not be his one like it was for you,
Right.
but at least he's here and he's making us better. And I'm going to honor that and respect that.
And I think when you have kids who do that, I think you have to have those types of kids because obviously they're good enough athletes. You have to have, especially in the small school, you have to have them, even if it's their third or fourth or fifth best player. I want that guy.
Yeah. Because
I know what he's doing outside for his other sport.
Mm.
And I think that you can win. Those guys are winners.
They're winners and you need them.
Yeah.
Off season, when you have an off season, I know you've got things you're doing, summertime. What do you want to accomplish in the off season, especially we'll say in the summer? What are you trying to accomplish in the summer to get ready for the basketball season?
I think that's changed a lot.
Mm.
I mean, when I was at Trico, we didn't have football. So we would go 3 days a week, but we would use our 25 contact days. We would go almost 3 days a week, June and July, because basketball is a skill sport. So the longer I could keep the ball in their hands,
right.
I thought that was better. And then when school started, we would start agility and all that stuff. Now, and you're different as football because you're lifting and doing stuff in June and July. You're putting stuff in and you're going right into the season. Whereas basketball, to put a bunch of stuff in June and not see some of those guys for July or August or September or October, they're going to forget it anyway.
Yeah. So
we've kind of changed to where we just work on skill stuff. We work on skill. We go play because I think like for us, I can't have guys in the gym all summer and not let them go play somewhere. They'll quit showing up.
Yeah. So
we kind of got to throw them a bone and go play in a tournament once a week. But we try to do as much skill stuff. And the one thing that I've kind of changed, again, as you get older, and I don't know if we're any wiser, but it's just, can you see kids have changed?
Yeah.
Times have changed. We don't, like right now, we're going, I've had a handful of kids. We'll do agility stuff 3 days a week for 45 minutes. We'll open the gym at night and I'll put a workout on the board, or I will say, hey, senior, you have the workout. And I'm going to walk laps around the top of the gym, and I may or may not even watch.
Yeah.
But I'll put 45 minutes on the clock. When that horn goes off, you're done.
Yeah.
So I tried to not take up as much of their time.
Right.
Football in the summer, they go from lifting to football for 2 hours. I'm not getting anything out of them for 2 hours. So we've kind of maybe an hour. And so we've cut back that way. Again, it's kind of like that. Don't work longer or harder, work smarter.
Work smarter, yeah.
And now all of a sudden those guys are getting out of the gym at 11 o'clock or 11:15 and not noon. And I think trying to keep them fresh, but maybe just let them be kids. Let them have their summer. All right. Are they going to get better? Or are we going to get better as a group because I kept them there 45 minutes longer, 3 days a week?
I remember years ago, I asked you when you were coaching at Marion, we were working together. I asked you something, almost the same question about summertime because I wanted to learn from you as well. And I remember one time, I think you said, summertime's a great time to figure out what this group of kids can do.
Yeah.
And then you could make preparations during that football season for what this team looks like they're capable of doing.
I think we try to play a little bit. We let them play up and down, and that way, all right, who's touched the ball since February?
Yeah.
We get into gym in June. Who's kind of worked on their game a little bit? Who's taken that step to make themselves a better player? Okay, well, a lot of times that changes from February to June. Now we figure out, we kind of have a depth chart, so to speak, in June or July to figure out, what's going to happen till November. But if you just kind of let them play a little bit, they get a little bit of conditioning. They don't know they're getting conditioning, but because they're playing,
because there's a ball involved.
Yeah, they don't know that part. So we've kind of got them fooled there. But when you let them play, you kind of let them figure things out on their own. Yeah. And I can watch and he can do this, he can't do that. And we'll have that conversation. Yeah. And we'll go play. And do you get better in the summer? I mean, that's yes, but probably more as individual than team. Like we do very little team stuff in the summer.
What's the biggest change in the game since you started as a player to coach in the college to now? What's the biggest change in the game of basketball, or has there been?
I don't know if it's even in basketball. I'll say just society, parents. Yeah. We always say, the kids have changed. Kids are lazy. I don't know that the kids have changed. They have more opportunities. I think the parents have changed. Yeah. When you grew up, or when I grew up, and you went home and complained to mom or dad about the coach, and he got on you, and you didn't feel that was due, mom and dad didn't make the phone call to the coach.
Right.
It's like, you're the player, you go deal with it. And now, I mean, it's every week there's something. Yeah. We have a parent coming out of the stands. We have parents on the field. I mean, we were, was it Peoria Notre Dame, where we had the volley, Quincy Notre Dame. Yeah. The parents ran into the locker room and accosted the head coach, who was a two-time All-American at Wisconsin and played in the national championship game and had won 5 regionals. She probably knows what she's doing.
Probably knows more than you do.
Yes. But I think that part has changed. Yeah. It's and I get it. You want what's best for your kid, but sometimes your kid's not good enough to play. Yeah. You look at it through those rose shaded glasses.
So a couple more things. Social media. It's become part of the coaching profession now. How do you manage that with your players?
Yeah, and I've got to. You look at it a lot with like kids who get offers, to play in college, and they can't wait to put it out there. And we went through the recruiting process with Caden last year, and it's like, hey, that's the thing. I care less. But if you're going to want to put it out that so and so offered you, you better ask that coach if they want you to put it out. Yeah. So you put it out. I don't care. Or if the only person that knows they offered you or you and them, that's fine too. Yeah. So from that standpoint, it's changed because you just have so much more information at your fingertips. Yeah. I mean, you can flip through Twitter. I will always call it Twitter, but you can flip through it and you can see team chemistry stuff, culture stuff. Yeah. You can see X and O's all over the place. So just having that access right there to you on social media, I think is good for coaches. Sure. I'm not a big fan of the banter between our kids and the kids at another school. Yeah, do you deal with that a lot? Yeah. And I think there's more of it than what we know. I think so too. And I think our athletic director, Ryan Gudisky, one time said to me, don't go looking for it because you got to be careful because, unless something happens because of it, just be very careful trying to find that because you'll find things maybe that... You don't want to see. Yeah, well, and it's not that you don't want to know, it's that some things you can make worse because of what you've been digging through and you can create something that really wasn't as big a deal as you might think. Right, and I think that's generational. Yeah. We weren't doing that. Yeah. We were going to talk on the floor a little bit. Yeah. But social media has made it where, I don't want to call them friends, but kids have so many different acquaintances from other towns. Yep. They know people. Yep. Well, who's this? Well, I don't know. I've got them on Snapchat or I've got whatever. It's like when we grew up, you knew a couple kids from each town, but it's usually the people you played against. And I wasn't calling them. Yeah. And I like what you said earlier too. If you and I had played in an era with that, we'd have been victims to it too. I mean, we were fortunate. I feel fortunate. I didn't have to worry about that element of it, though there are some good things about it, exposure and things. But at the same time, I didn't have that temptation
to go down that path. And I feel bad for our kids sometimes because
Absolutely.
of all the things on the periphery that are challenging them, distracting them.
And we can sit here and say that, well, if I was in high school and we had all the social media and all the technology, that it wouldn't affect me, I was still going to the gym.
Yeah.
You can't say that.
Can't say it.
You can't say that because you don't know, because that's just a whole different world we live in.
Yeah. Two more things. What's the best part of this profession for you?
The kids.
Yeah.
The kids. And I think that maybe outsiders don't understand that. It's like I think they think that we're chasing wins. I'm chasing wins for our kids.
Mm.
And I don't think a lot of people understand that.
Yeah.
I've had a lot of success playing this game, and I was very fortunate. I want our kids every year to have the experience of winning a tournament.
That's well said.
Or winning a conference, or winning a regional.
Yeah.
And I remember when we won our regional last year, and I can remember we shook the hands and they presented the plaque, and it's like I plopped my butt right on the edge of the scores table and just watched.
Took it in.
Just let those guys. They did it, not me.
Yeah.
I didn't score a basket.
Yeah.
Let those guys celebrate with their teammates. Let them celebrate with their classmates. Let them celebrate with their family, because it's them. It's their story. And I think sometimes adults at school think the high school experience is about us, and it's not. We already had our high school experience.
Yeah.
It's theirs. How can we make that 4-year period for those high school kids? How can we make it better? How can we make it memorable for them?
That's great.
And I think when we get past that, then everything's going to be a little bit better.
Amen.
I really enjoyed my high school experience. I love being in the gym, but those days are done. And having 3 kids go through there and being in the high school with those kids, or with my own kids, and see them interact every day, man, that's the best part.
Yeah.
I love walking down the hallway and just talking to kids. I teach every freshman.
Yeah.
So if you're a move-in, I may not know you,
Yeah.
but by the time you're a senior, I know everybody in the school.
Yeah.
And just to be able to go down the hallway and kids.
Yeah.
And who's having a good day and a bad day. What can you do to help them? And that's not basketball related. That's the being in the hallways. And I think that's sometimes people don't understand that. At least to me, basketball is really important. I'm gonna go watch some games tonight, but man, being able just to see those kids even the kids that don't play for it.
Yeah.
And having that connection.
I was going to say connections, relationships.
Absolutely.
Man, that's so well said. And I got to end on that, because that sums it up right there, and it sums up you. Congratulations on a great career. Keep doing what you're doing. You're doing it at a high level. You're doing it for the right reasons. And Southern Illinois basketball has been blessed by you at every level, from player to coach to college to high school. And I had the pleasure and honor of working with you for a few years here at Marion. And you were such a great basketball coach to work with and share kids with. And I was fortunate to have that experience with you. And I thank you for being here.
Well, I think, like I said, when you called, it's an automatic pickup.
Thanks.
It's not like, we're gonna call him later. That's an automatic pickup, because whatever you're involved with, it's right. And the opportunity for me, I'd come from school where we didn't have football.
Yeah.
So to come and work with you, and it was just as much a learning experience for me in the hallways, seeing you interact with kids and seeing you in practice. And I would come to practice and because I wanted to see how you interacted. How detailed were you? And I took a lot of things from being around you, and obviously it was an honor for me to have that opportunity, and one I'm very, very blessed and thankful for.
I appreciate you being here, man.
For sure.
Hey, I thank you for listening again and watching again. I want to thank the Swinford Media Group once more, and Ross is here today. Ross Swinford, and does an amazing job. And thanks to Crown Brew again. We thank you for tuning in, listening to what's in the hearts of these coaches, and what they do and how much they mean to our kids and our communities. And hope you continue watching. Thank you.